Good evening. The search is on for two suspects after an early morning shooting at a North York townhouse complex.
Neighbors say a man standing behind a closed door was struck. Police say he suffered life-threatening injuries. CTV's Jan.19 has been following this investigation and joins us live from 31 Division with the latest. John.
Well, Nathan, that neighbor says that when police finally opened the door, the victim was lying behind the front door that had been closed when the shooting took place. Now police are trying to locate the two suspects here involved. The front door of the townhouse unit was riddled with bullet holes, at least a dozen shots fired. A man in his 20s standing behind that closed door was rushed to hospital with what police describe as life-threatening injuries. We spoke to a neighbor who heard the shots. She is concerned for her safety and asked that we not show her face on camera.
Just heard people running and a bunch of gunshots, at least 8 to 13, 14 shots. It sounded like an automatic handgun. And then running again, and then I looked out my window and I seen the cops come with their rifles running here, seen the shots, and then they kept running around looking. It was just really crazy.
CTV News obtained these photos taken minutes after the shooting. It shows officers with weapons drawn on the scene. The screen door window is smashed out by the suspect gunfire. It happened at 12:25 this morning at Shoreham Drive and Shoreham Court. That's near Jane and Steeles.
We recognize that incidents like this are concerning for the community. Investigators are working diligently to determine exactly what happened and to identify those who are responsible.
Police say the motive is currently unknown. There was a heavy police presence in the neighborhood today as officers canvassed for any information. There are several security cameras attached to the building. It is a Toronto community housing complex. Police are reviewing footage in hopes of identifying any suspects. Two men were seen leaving the area in a dark-colored sedan.
Any witnesses that may have been in the area that may have some footage, may have some dash cam footage, please, we'd ask everybody to check your cameras, the doorbell cameras.
Meanwhile, residents say the gun violence is unsettling.
I woke up my two daughters. They were freaking out, and my son was crying when the shots went off and everything. And with how many times it's happened since I've moved here, like I've only lived here like 4 years, it's gotten out of hand.
Police say the Guns and Gangs Task Force is leading the investigation with help from 31 Division police officers. So a bit of a frightening situation for the residents in that complex. Police say if you have any information and you're worried about your safety, you can still use Crime Stoppers and do it anonymously. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman, and Michelle, back inside to you.
Thank you, John. The province's Special Investigations Unit is looking into the shooting of a police officer in Oshawa yesterday. Police attended a home on Cedar Street, just west of Simcoe Street, for a mental health call around 11 a.m. They encountered a 27-year-old man who was armed with a knife. An interaction took place, and one of the officers discharged their gun multiple times. The man was struck, as was a police officer. The officer was rushed to hospital in critical condition, but is expected to survive. The suspect has serious but non-life-threatening injuries.
The city's declaration of a significant weather event following last week's major snowstorm has now ended. The declaration came to an end at 5 p.m. During the event, parking was banned on designated snow routes to allow for roads to be plowed. Toronto police tell CTV News more than 10,300 tickets were issued for illegal parking during this period. The fines were up to $500 and also required drivers to pay for the cost of towing. Drivers are reminded to look out for temporary orange no parking snow removal signs or risk being towed. These signs mean crews will be removing the snow from these areas within 24 hours of the sign being posted.
Meanwhile, the latest data from the city shows that warming centers were over capacity last night. The sites at Jimmy Simpson Recreation Center and Cecil Community Center reopened at 5 p.m. today, providing an additional 60 spaces across the system. The 5 other sites remain open for those in need of a warm place to spend the night. These sites do remain open when temperatures dip below -5 degrees.
And weather is also a major concern south of the border. More than 100 vehicles involved in a massive pileup on a Michigan highway as a snowstorm moves across the country. We'll have more on that coming up.
And here at home, certainly not as bad, but we do have our own wintry weather to contend with. The story here is the cold and blowing snow, depending on where you are, but certainly no shortage of people enjoying the ice at Nathan Phillips Square. I'm sure it's a cool one for them down there. Lindsay Morrison is here. She has all the specifics. Lindsay.
Yeah, Michelle, blowing snow is where the winds pick up the snow that's already on the ground, blow it around, reduce visibility. We certainly had that today in the GTA. We also had a pretty powerful snow squall, and we've got more lake effect snow now starting to approach areas like Guelph, Caledon, Tottenham. We've also got near blizzard-like conditions for communities just to the east of Lake Huron. This has to do with visibility issues as well as sustained winds. So the areas in purple that you see here, not great for travel tonight at all. Snow squall warnings remain in place just on the fringe areas of the GTA. Look at these winds coming out of the southwest and the west, gusting close to 60 km right now here in Toronto. It is -9 degrees, but it feels like -20. And as we make our way through the night tonight, it's going to feel like -23 at the coldest point. And we are going to be chilly all week long. Coming up, we'll talk about overnight lows near -20. That's ahead. For now, though, Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. 2 suspects have been arrested after several high-end vehicles were stolen from an Oakville dealership last week. Security video obtained by CTV News shows as many as 8 suspects breaking through a glass door to get into the showroom and then prying open a lockbox before making off with 8 vehicles worth roughly $2 million. 5 have since been recovered. 2 of the suspects were arrested in Peel Region and have been charged with break and enter and disguise with intent. Investigators are continuing to search for the outstanding vehicles and suspects. Anyone with information is asked to contact police.
In Brampton, 2 people are in hospital with serious injuries after a crash this afternoon. The 2-vehicle collision happened in the area of Steeles and Windmill Boulevard around 2:15. Paramedics tell CTV News 2 adults were rushed to hospital with serious injuries. The cause is under investigation.
Still ahead, the Premier sounds off on Carney's Chinese EV deal. Ford takes aim at the Prime Minister's move once again. Why he says lower tariffs will hurt Ontario's auto industry and threaten Canada's security. But first, healthcare workers in World Cup host cities, including here in Toronto, say they're concerned an already strained healthcare system could buckle if a sudden surge slams emergency departments during the tournament.
It all comes as city councillors crunch the numbers on the cost. CTV's Natalie Johnson is live tonight at City Hall with more. Natalie.
Well, Michelle, less than 5 months to go now until the city hosts its 6 World Cup games. The price tag on Toronto's hosting duties remains at $380 million. But one ER doctor is sounding the alarm on what could be a costly concern. As Toronto prepares to welcome the world for FIFA soccer this summer, City Hall is charged with containing the costs.
The federal government and the provincial government have all agreed they want to participate. I would really like both levels of government to sign the checks.
The big bill holding steady at $380 million. City funding pegged at $179 million through reserves, hotel tax, commercial rights sales, and rental fees.
The City of Toronto has a structural deficit. There will be a windfall from FIFA, and it's not going to be coming to the City of Toronto, but it's going to be costing the City of Toronto an incredible amount to host this event. So we're hoping that our partners and other orders of government will continue to be at the table with us and really taking a serious look about their financial responsibilities, as well as things under their purview.
Healthcare near the top of that list. In an editorial published today in the Canadian Medical Association Journal, Toronto emergency physician Dr. Catherine Varner warns that for hospitals here, quote, being in a constant state of surge capacity is actually the norm. Concerned about mounting pressure on Ontario's healthcare system as some 300,000 visitors descend on the city for the massive event.
We see in any number of sporting events or mass gathering events where you'll have more trauma in hospital, as well as more alcohol or substance-related visits to emergency department utilization. Those are things we saw in Game 1 and Game 7, of course, in downtown Toronto when I was working. Saw a lot of head injuries related to booze-related incidents, and not so much in the stadiums themselves, but what's happening in the city as people are celebrating.
We're doing everything we can to enhance the healthcare system. You talk to our finance minister, every time I see him, first words out of his mouth, do you know how much we're spending on healthcare? And I say, well, we're investing in healthcare.
After years of planning for FIFA, Toronto's World Cup year is here. The question is whether the city can come away with a win. In another assessment of possible strain to the healthcare system created by the World Cup, Public Health Ontario is warning that measles, COVID-19, and foodborne illnesses pose moderate risks during the games. Reporting live at City Hall, I'm Natalie Johnson. Michelle, over to you.
Thank you, Natalie. Ontario's Premier once again speaking out today over concerns he has with Chinese-made electric vehicles.
It comes after Canada and China struck a deal last week that Ford doubts will lead to the production of those vehicles on Canadian soil. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris has more.
On a convention stage in downtown Toronto.
Once the camel gets his head in a tent, his whole body's in the tent.
And again at the Ontario Legislature.
All we got is a massive threat.
The Premier panning the deal that will allow up to 49,000 electric vehicles from China into Canada.
I'm not too sure if President Trump wants Chinese spy vehicles coming across the border.
While this cybersecurity expert isn't aware of any data sharing from EVs.
Unless we're able to validate and verify each and every single component, knowing that security is built right in from the get-go.
Those fears aren't going anywhere, and we have sort of a recent example of this.
The Canadian government stopped Huawei, which was a Chinese company, from building the 5G infrastructure within Canada for the very same concerns.
Doug Ford skeptical that Chinese car manufacturers will ever build in Canada, worried about the future of existing Ontario auto workers.
Yeah, I'm a little ticked off of the PM, but he's coming over hopefully for a sandwich, maybe a pizza or something.
Ford reveals he only got a few hours heads up on the deal with deep implications for Ontario. The call from a minister, not Mark Carney.
Prime Minister knows my number, and I thought we had a good enough relationship that he'd give me a quick text or a little bit of communication. That never happened. That's fine. Like I said, I know where I stand with him.
The opposition leader sees the Premier as trying to deflect blame.
You know what? If you're not at the table, you are on the menu. And that's what happened to Ontario with this deal.
The Premier's been calling on Ottawa to back away from the requirement to have all new vehicles sold be either electric or hybrid by 2035. A senior federal government source tells CTV News a new auto strategy is coming next month. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
When Mark Carney will meet with the Premier isn't known yet, but in the meantime, the Prime Minister could potentially sit down for an important chat at the World Economic Forum this week.
Carney and Donald Trump will likely run into each other in Davos, Switzerland, amid ongoing concern about America's intention to acquire Greenland. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver reports.
The Prime Minister is one of a record 400 top political leaders in Davos for the World Economic Forum. But it's one leader who's not even there yet, Donald Trump, who is dominating the conversation and raising the tension. Prime Minister Mark Carney will kickstart his time at the World Economic Forum with a fireside chat tomorrow and a speech later in the day all about what he calls the New World Order and Canada's approach. Expect him to talk about trade and the importance of diversifying Canada's trading partner, a message he has been spreading throughout this trip. But while trade and the economy may be topics the leaders here want to talk about, geopolitics and Trump's latest tariff threats are quickly taking over. A number of the 8 EU leaders facing Trump tariffs over Greenland will be at the World Economic Forum, including French President Emmanuel Macron tomorrow, who Carney will be meeting with. Right now, there is no indication that Carney and Trump will be meeting, but the two will be in Davos at the same time. The Prime Minister has said if he runs into Trump, he will raise his concerns about Greenland and the fact that Canada stands with Denmark and Greenland. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News, Corton, Switzerland.
Meantime, a senior government source tells CTV News Ottawa is thinking about sending a small contingent of soldiers to Greenland to participate in NATO training exercises. CTV's senior political correspondent Mike Lecouteur has more on that.
The picturesque landscape of Greenland could soon host a handful of Canadian soldiers. The members of our military would participate in training exercises with a number of European allies.
They framed it as a long-planned military exercise.
Canada's former ambassador to NATO says these deployments were originally planned to deter Russian action, but it could have the same effect on President Trump.
Trump is taking it as a message, and perhaps, unspoken, the allies will think of that as a way of changing Trump's risk calculus.
Canada's troop commitment would likely be less than the dozen soldiers Germany is sending to Greenland. Still, there could be blowback for Canada, as U.S. President Donald Trump is threatening tariffs on any ally that sends troops.
Just to show the Americans that, you can't push around a NATO ally and threaten to take over a country against their will.
Now, to minimize the political fallout, some suggest appealing to Trump in a different way.
Try to turn the tables a little bit and say, let's all be in this together when it comes to the defense of the Arctic in North America, rather than make it appear as if somehow we're marshalling a force to defend Greenland from the Americans.
NBC News is also reporting Trump is complaining to aides about Canada's vulnerability in the Arctic. That's despite Canada already committing $6 billion to an over-the-horizon radar system for the far north.
We have to do more in our Arctic, but we also have to be kind of calm. More important thing is to work with our Arctic allies to deter and to get ready for any threat.
But the source of that threat in a rapidly changing geopolitical landscape depends on where you are in the world. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
There's plenty of renewed support for Greenland after Trump said starting February 8th, European countries will be charged a 10% tariff for opposing U.S. control of the island.
Any decision about the future status of Greenland belongs to the people of Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark alone. That right is fundamental, and we support it.
It's so important that all our allies in the NATO alliance and the European Union stand up for these principles to show the American president, you have a desire, you have a vision, you have a request, but you will never be able to achieve that by putting pressure on us.
More Danish troops arrived in Greenland today for winter training and to strengthen NATO's footprint in the region. Copenhagen says the soldiers are there as part of an expanded exercise in close cooperation with alliance allies. Denmark and Greenland have proposed a NATO mission in the autonomous territory.
A 19-year-old Canadian woman was found dead this morning near a popular Australian tourist site. The woman was found unresponsive on Garry, an island off the country's east coast. Two men driving past the beach saw a pack of wild dogs near the body. Authorities say it's too early to know if the dogs were involved in her death. They say initial information indicates the woman may have gone for an early morning swim. Police have not yet said where in Canada this woman was from.
And still in Australia, authorities are investigating after 3 shark attacks in Sydney, including one that left a 12-year-old boy in critical condition.
It was a horrendous scene at the time when police attended. We believe it was something like a bull shark that attacked the lower limbs of that boy yesterday.
Police say the boy's friends pulled him out of the water. First responders performed CPR and first aid. The child remains in critical condition with severe injuries to both legs. It was the 3rd shark attack in Sydney in the span of 26 hours.
In Spain, 3 days of national mourning have been declared for the victims of a tragic rail collision. It happened last night in the country's south when the tail end of a train jumped the track, causing another train going past in the opposite direction to derail. At least 40 people are confirmed dead. 41 others remain hospitalized, and another 81 were released today. All survivors were rescued in the early morning hours. There's no indication yet what caused this crash on the high-speed rail network.
The final round of Prince Harry's current legal case against the UK tabloids began today. The Duke arrived at London's High Court, where lawyers for Harry and 6 other public figures said their clients were victims of systematic phone hacking and other unlawful acts by the Daily Mail. In a statement, the prince said it was disturbing to feel his every move, thought, or feeling was being monitored just to make money. The claimants, including Elton John and Liz Hurley, allege their privacy was violated from 1993 until 2011 and beyond. The Mail's publisher, Associated Newspapers, says their journalists had legitimate sources.
Some incredible footage from Michigan today where more than 100 vehicles were involved in a pileup this morning. It happened on Interstate 196, just southwest of Grand Rapids. More than 30 tractor trailers were involved, causing state police to close the interstate in both directions. According to local media, about a dozen people suffered some type of injury in the crashes, but no one was killed. Stranded motorists were taken by police to buses and sent to a nearby high school where they could stay warm while arranging considering alternate modes of transportation. Western Michigan has been under winter storm warnings with lake effect snow causing whiteout conditions. Coming up, it's been dubbed the most depressing day of the year. And on this so-called Blue Monday, a new mental health report card shows the mental well-being of Torontonians is getting worse.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, if you have a business or you're planning to sell something for cash, watch out for counterfeit bills circulating in the GTA. A company that sells trailers was just scammed out of more than $6,000 with fake money. All of that story, that's just ahead.
Well, did you know that there is actually criteria for what constitutes a blizzard? You need sustained winds of 40 km, you need visibility of 400 meters or less, and these conditions need to persist for 4 hours or more. So that's what we are seeing in sections of Huron and Perth County tonight. We're also looking at lake effect accumulating snow and then a clipper system for us on Wednesday. Not only is it snowy this week, but it's cold too. We'll take you through the 7-day forecast after this.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
A warning tonight if you're doing cash transactions. Counterfeit bills are circulating in the GTA.
Police say criminals have produced fake 20s and 50s, but now more fake $100 bills are also ending up in circulation. Here's Pat Foran with a Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Michelle and Nathan. Police forces across the country are getting reports of fake $100 bills being used in cash transactions. A Mississauga company was just scammed out of more than $6,000 when someone bought a trailer with counterfeit money.
Trailers Ontario has 4 locations in the province selling cargo trailers for various applications. A customer recently bought one at their Mississauga site and paid for it in part with counterfeit money.
When did you find out that the cash was counterfeit?
First thing Monday morning. Owner Nadir Virgi says the customer wanted to pay for the trailer in cash.
A customer came to us last week, purchased a trailer for $12,200, and he ended up slipping in $6,200 in counterfeit money.
Frustrated he'd been scammed out of $6,200, Virgie called Peel Police. They're continuing to investigate, but the man who handed over the cash was not arrested. As he said, he got the fake $100 bills from someone else when he sold a trailer.
The police told me that it is a civil matter since he paid half in legitimate currency and half in fake currency.
To avoid counterfeit money scams, avoid large cash transactions if possible. If a cash payment is required, complete the transaction at a financial institution. Do not accept money you believe may be counterfeit, and do not attempt to use counterfeit currency as it's a criminal offense.
They seem to be a bit on the rise right now, especially with, as is always the case, the larger denominations, the $100 bills.
Toronto police say they've noticed a huge increase in fake bills since the beginning of the year.
We've already seen almost $50,000 in counterfeit money that's been turned in and that's been reported to us.
Feel, look, and flip.
For more information on spotting counterfeit notes, you can check the Bank of Canada's website.
Tilt the note to make sure the metallic portrait and building change colors.
As for Virgie, he's frustrated he may have to go to small claims court to get his money back. He says his company is now taking more steps to try and spot counterfeit currency.
We did purchase money counters right now for all our locations, and I've told my entire team to double check every bill.
And if you get stuck with counterfeit cash, a bank will not exchange it for real money. The bills will be confiscated to get them out of circulation. You'll take the loss, which is why you need to be very careful accepting cash, especially large amounts. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
All right, this is the time of year when you have to pretty much wear all the layers, bundle up all the thick, heavy winter clothing.
You have to. It's unsafe, really. Tonight looks really cold, and then you add all that wind and the wind chill and some drifting snow, and not a fun night to be outside. Hopefully everyone can find a warm place.
It is midwinter. It looks like it. It feels like it. We've had all kinds of snow types of weather conditions today. Squalls, blowing snow, simply falling flurries as well. And it's true, we've got icy wind chills out there. And by the time we head into the weekend, it won't just be the wind chill. It will be the core temperature near minus 20 degrees. But we'll get to that. Let's show you what it looked like a little bit earlier today. We had one particularly powerful squall make its way through the GTA, impacting City of Toronto. This particular video is from the Ajax area. But again, millions impacted by this line that was brief but intense, resulting in near zero visibility. And for our friends closer to the shoreline of Lake Huron, this has been an ongoing all-day thing with a blizzard warning in place. The area that you see there in purple. Otherwise, we continue to see snow squall warnings just around the perimeter of the GTA. It's been very snowy today around Georgian Bay as well, parts of Muskoka, and now the south end of that lake. Starting to see a couple more squall lines develop. Also seeing some improvements in many areas. However, especially if you have travel plans tonight, be very careful out on the roadways. Visibility continues to be an issue. There's a closer look at some of the communities being impacted around southern Georgian Bay. And then here's a closer look at the GTA. Some of this light snow once again approaching from the northwest. We've had strong winds today. Those winds predominantly out of the west and southwest. It will be windy again tomorrow and on Wednesday, but the winds on Wednesday, we're going to tap into a bit more of a southerly flow once again. That returns our temperature to near seasonal, but it's not going to last. Not a whole lot of accumulating snow. Again, it's the blowing snow that's more of a concern today and into tomorrow. So perhaps a trace to a centimeter or two. But then Wednesday, this is a different story. We've got the next Alberta Clipper swinging through, and this one looks to bring us an additional 5 centimeters of snow, and that's going to happen through the daytime hours on Wednesday. Your Tuesday brings a mix of sun and cloud, chance of flurries, once again some oscillating snow squalls, but there's the more widespread snow that arrives on Wednesday. So start planning accordingly for that day. Thursday, we might even get another light dusting of snow. All right, if the snow isn't enough, let's talk about the cold. You can see just how bitter it is across northern parts of Ontario. That's a minus 42 wind chill right now in Peawanuck. It feels like minus 18 right now in Toronto, and through the overnight hours, it's going to feel like minus 23, especially just before sunrise tomorrow morning. Daytime high tomorrow, minus 9. That is cold. Again, we're crossing our fingers for some sunshine tomorrow. That would be nice. Snow, not as much of a factor for your Tuesday, just the chance of a few flurries. But again, we're back into it on Wednesday. Daytime high minus 3. That's at least near seasonal. Other than that, though, there is no sign of a warm up. Overnight lows into the weekend. Oh boy, waking up Saturday morning, the temperature could be minus 21 degrees. Last time I can see that we had a temperature of minus 20 degrees in Toronto was February of 2023. That's the weather for now. I'll send it back to you, Nathan.
Thank you, Lindsay. Also tonight, after almost 50 years, David Letterman is returning to the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival. What to expect from the former king of late night coming up.
Today is so-called Blue Monday, coined by a professor years ago as the saddest day of the year, given the weather, holiday bills coming due, and failing New Year's resolutions.
But a new study on the mental health of Torontonians suggests things aren't much better right now than on any other day. CTV's Mike Walker reports.
It's cold, often gray, and can be a dreary time of year. Today especially, dubbed Blue Monday, considered the saddest day of the year. Caesar has noticed a shift in his circles.
I know it feels different. The ambient, the people, the vibe.
Especially with the weather and I think just the lack of sunlight.
A new report card released by Thrive TO in partnership with the Canadian Mental Health Association, CAMH, and the city has found mental health in Toronto has declined significantly. It found Torontonians who describe their mental health as excellent or very good fell from 73% in 2015 to 52% in 2022.
It actually should sound alarm bells.
A drop researchers call unprecedented.
Some groups are really doing quite badly. So if we're looking at children and youth, only a third of children and youth said that they had good mental health. If we look at the 2S LGBT community, again, only a third saying they have good mental health.
The report noted working conditions, time pressures, and financial difficulties are among the top stressors.
Financial insecurity is one of the things that's most exquisitely linked to mental health concerns.
Young age groups, including youth, were less likely to report good mental health. 55% of respondents said the pandemic had a moderate to extreme negative impact on their mental health. Nearly half said they feel depressed about the future because of climate change.
Well, and certainly the pandemic had a huge component to that. I mean, we had a number of years where we had interruptions.
Toronto's top doctor says developing more strategies aimed at improving affordability is key.
Make people more secure in their homes, to not be worried that they're not going to make rent this month, to make people feel more secure in their jobs, to make food affordability more accessible.
For these university students, affordability and employment opportunities are top stressors.
Am I able to afford housing? And also the job market, the outlook on that is also very uncertain at the moment.
Many say socialization is vital, but the report also found loneliness is on the rise.
A lot of people are becoming more and more introverted, per se. They're not interacting with each other enough, and I think people should try their hardest to go out and meet people.
Researchers say this is the first of a series of reports they intend to release, and over the next couple of years, we'll be looking into whether any progress has been made. Mike Walker, CTV News.
One of the late-night greats will perform in Canada next month for the first time in nearly 50 years. David Letterman will take the stage at Just for Laughs Vancouver on February 18th. The festival says it's his first time performing in this country since 1978. The comedian will appear for what is being called an evening with David Letterman. He hosted Late Night from 1982 to 1993 and The Late Show from 93 to 2015.
A Las Vegas-style Sphere is headed to the Washington, D.C. area. The venue will be built at National Harbor in Prince George's County, overlooking the Potomac River. Now, the new Sphere will have an exterior light display and about 6,000 seats. Officials say it could help replace lost entertainment venues in the area, but state lawmakers still need to sign off on the project before it moves forward.
After the break, forced to find a new home, the Beach's Lacrosse club says they were blindsided after Ted Reeves Arena decided to keep ice in the rink year-round.
Bunch of gunshots, at least 8 to 13, 14 shots. Sound like an automatic handgun.
Updating our top stories, a man in his 20s is fighting for his life after an early morning shooting in North York. Bullet holes can be seen in the doorway of a TCHC building where the man was shot just after midnight. Police are looking for 2 suspects.
I'm not too sure if President Trump wants Chinese spy vehicles coming across the border.
The premier is speaking out again today about his concerns over the recent trade agreement signed between Canada and China that would allow Chinese-made electric vehicles to enter the Canadian market. Doug Ford says the vehicles pose a security threat and says he hopes to speak with the Prime Minister as soon as possible.
Some groups are really doing quite badly.
And on this Blue Monday, new concerns about the mental health of Torontonians. A new report shows the mental health of Torontonians has declined significantly. The report notes working conditions, time pressures, and financial difficulties are among the top stressors.
Remember to keep up to date day and night at ctvnewstoronto.ca and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos, or video or breaking news, let us know.
In December, inflation hit 2.4% year over year. BNN Bloomberg's Marella Fernandez has more on what led to the increase in prices.
At the end of 2024, the federal government gave Canadians a break from paying the GST. Fast forward to a year later. And that's why Canadians are paying 8.5% more for meals at restaurants, while alcoholic drinks rose 6.5%. Toys and games up 7.5%, and kids' clothing 4.8%. At the grocery store, coffee cost almost 31% more year over year. Beef, fresh or frozen, up almost 17%. Tesla could be an early winner from Ottawa's new trade deal with Beijing. It opens up the Canadian market to electric vehicles made in China with a much lower tariff. Tesla makes some of its vehicles in Shanghai, and the company already has a network of stores in Canada. which puts it in prime position to take advantage of the agreement. There are more changes to the executive team at Barrick Mining. The company's chief financial officer, Graham Shuttleworth, is leaving. He's being replaced by board member Helen Kai, who's a Chinese national. An activist investor has been shaking things up at Canada's second largest gold miner. The CEO, Mark Bristow, left in September. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up to 72.11. West Texas Intermediate is up to 59.43. Western Canadian Select is up to 45.16. And the TSX gained 50 points for another record close. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
More now on the new inflation numbers. They've ticked up slightly, and for Canadians struggling to make ends meet, expenses are still headed in the wrong direction.
CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Beauchemin reports on the struggle at the grocery store.
In these cookies, there's a secret ingredient.
You have a passion for coffee.
I'm obsessed, a little bit.
Stephanie Presta started a home business, Montreal Latte Heart, combining that shot of caffeine with another passion, baking.
So I infuse my cookies with my coffee, and the coffee makes the flavors really come out of the cookies.
But that is now a recipe for higher costs. The latest Statistics Canada inflation numbers show coffee went up 30% annually, and that sweets were also pricier.
Weather variability and lower yields just means that there's less coffee beans being produced and there's more global demand. That's driving the prices up.
A similar story has unfolded for beef prices. They're up 16%. The cattle stock in Canada is low, boosting prices. Coffee and beef are the main staples that saw a 5% hike annually for grocery items. But overall, many economists see some positive signs for food inflation in the report.
If you take out beef and some of the secondary effects on proteins, take out coffee, take out a couple of other things that have had extreme weather issues, the news is relatively optimistic for food prices going forward.
For Presta, relief from rising prices could mean investing in her passions is worth all the hard work.
There were moments this Christmas where I was like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this?
And with the cost of dining out going up too, it's hard to find a treat at a sweet price. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Montreal.
Air Transat is planning to introduce a new loyalty program for the second half of this year. The airline has not offered any details yet, but says the collaboration with Desjardins Group and Visa will offer travelers exclusive benefits and an improved experience through a simple and flexible approach. The company says it will also create value for Transat and its investors.
Canada's ultra-wealthy are getting richer and at a much faster rate than other people in this country. A new Oxfam report says the wealth of Canada's 40 richest people grew by more than 20% last year to almost $550 billion. There are at least 89 billionaires in this country, with the wealthiest 1% having almost $1.25 trillion. It's more than the GDP of some nations.
The Toronto Maple Leafs kick off a 5-game homestand tonight.
Stanley tracking him. Robertson back across, scores!
The Buds closed out a 4-game Western road trip with an overtime win against Winnipeg Saturday. The Leafs are now 1 point behind the Sabres for the second wild-card spot in the Eastern Conference. Tonight, Toronto welcomes Minnesota to town. They're third in the West.
Well, it didn't take long for the Buffalo Bills to make a major change following Saturday's loss. The Bills have fired head coach Sean McDermott. The move comes after Buffalo's season ended with that 33-30 overtime loss to Denver Saturday. McDermott went 98-50 in the regular season in his 9 years with the Bills and 8-8 in the playoffs. Reports say GM Brandon Beam will be retained and lead the search for a new head coach.
It's been a rough start for Canadians at the Australian Open.
So he's definitely stretching out the left hamstring there, but these moments look...
Felix Auger-Aliassime retired in the fourth set of his opening match. The 25-year-old says he was unable to continue, adding he's never dealt with cramping so early in a tournament. Marina Stakusik also dealt with severe cramping in the final set of her first-round match, collapsing after a point before leaving the court in a wheelchair. Things were better for two other Canadians as Victoria Mboko and Denis Shapovalov won their opening matches in straight sets. A local lacrosse club is looking for a new home.
It comes after the longtime arena they used decided to keep the ice year-round. CTV's Jan.19 has more.
The ice at Ted Reeve Arena will be here indefinitely after the board voted to keep it year-round, but that means the end of this. As the decision will displace the Toronto Beaches Lacrosse Club from playing inside their home, a home they've had for the past 30 years.
And displaces almost 1,000 kids in our club.
Dave Lemke is the vice president of Toronto Beaches Lacrosse. He says they were blindsided when the Ted Reeve Arena board voted in December to move to year-round ice. The vote was done after the board had told stakeholders that year-round ice would not be discussed at the meeting.
The vote was not done with any community consultation. It wasn't done with any flags or kind of awareness of our board, our group, as well as City Councillor Brad Bradford.
That to me doesn't seem like a consistent and transparent process. That's my observation.
Local councillor Brad Bradford is on the Ted Reeve board and was also surprised by the vote. Just this past week, Bradford tabled a motion to allow for a re-vote after consultation with the community. That motion was voted down.
I don't think that's the correct way to do it, and I tried to go back and fix that, but ultimately the arena board decided against that.
Ted Reeve Arena Board Chair Ian McLeod declined an interview but sent a statement that calls the new model a hybrid, keeping the ice year-round in the main rink and allowing for dry surface sports like lacrosse to be played inside the bubble located next door in the summer. The statement also says the hybrid model is a strategic investment in lacrosse growth. By designating the Ted Reeve bubble as a dedicated dry floor facility for the 12-week summer season, the Toronto Beaches Lacrosse Club gains stability and priority. It goes on to say that minor lacrosse games will move to Scarborough Gardens, but Lemke says Scarborough Gardens is outside their catchment and no floor time has been secured. And as Toronto Beaches Lacrosse tries to find a new home for the 2026 season, there are questions as to the organization's stability, given that they're losing this one.
We're not able to schedule games, and it really kind of impacts us as a whole. It may have a detrimental effect on our registration numbers.
Lemke says that hockey schools have already begun advertising for summer programs, while Toronto Beaches Lacrosse is unsure where they will have a home. Sean Leathong, CTV News.
Just ahead, Liam's wish come true. A young Leafs fan given the chance to hang with Austin Matthews and deliver some specially designed gear. Find out how it all went after the break.
Tonight, Canada's high-stakes balancing act.
Try to turn the tables a little bit and say, let's all be in this together when it comes to the defense of the Arctic.
The potential risks of sending troops to Greenland. Later on CTV National News and watch on Crave.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Finally tonight, a dream come true for a young Leafs fan as part of the Make-A-Wish program.
10-year-old Liam got to present his hockey hero, Austin Matthews, with a special gift that he designed himself. CTV's Raheem Ladani has the story.
This is the moment Liam has been working towards for over a year, hanging out with his hockey idol, Toronto Maple Leafs captain Austin Matthews.
I was very excited and happy to meet him.
I know he's been dreaming of this moment for a really long time. Austin Matthews is incredible. It's his hero.
You see, Liam loves hockey. He gets on the ice whenever he can, though it's sometimes challenging living with cystic fibrosis. He was first diagnosed with the respiratory disorder at 3 weeks old.
At the time, we had no clue that we were carriers of it. So it was really scary for me. But I mean, as you can see, he's grown up to be an amazing little boy.
And Dina's amazing 10-year-old is also selfless. And this is where Make-A-Wish Canada comes in. Known for creating life-changing wishes for children diagnosed with critical illnesses, the organization asked Liam what he wants. But instead of a vacation or a new toy, Liam wished for the chance to design custom skates and stick for the Leafs captain.
It just reminded me of Austin Matthews, and I wanted to be like him one day.
His heart is so full. He would literally give you the shirt off his back. So it doesn't surprise me that he wanted to do something special for his hero, Austin.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Look at these things.
With the help of a custom designer from Calgary, Liam drew some of Matthews' favorite things.
The Toronto Maple Leafs, Austin Matthews' dog, and Carlton the bear.
I was supposed to use them as inspiration. When I saw the drawings, I was like, I'm just going to reproduce the exact drawing, and that's what's going to go on the skate.
After Liam gifted Austin Matthews with the custom pair of skates and stick, Liam was then surprised with a replica version of both just for him. And these skates are also signed by Matthews himself. Is there anything he said to you that was really special?
Yeah. He'll try to get as much goals as he can possibly for me.
And as Matthews tries to follow through on his promise, he'll be keeping Liam's favorite saying in mind.
Never give up.
Raheem Ladani, CTV News.
What a sweet story.
I know, nice to see. We first met Liam when he was 4. Now he's 11. It's amazing.
Wow. Yeah, big game for the Leafs tonight, too.
Score a whole bunch of goals,
Hopefully.
Austin Matthews.
Yeah, good night, I think, for fans to maybe stay inside where it's warm, curl up. It is a cold night tonight. And we've got snow, lake effect snow in some areas, too, including just now moving into Milton, areas like Bolton, Schaumburg, and even over toward the Uxbridge area. So just be mindful of this if you do have to be out and about on the roads. Tomorrow, chance of flurries, mix of sun and clouds, still windy. Daytime high -9, wind chill -18. The next 3 days look like this. Wednesday, periods of snow, but it's not quite as cold. Thursday, though, we're starting to become chilly again, and then it's a deep freeze heading into next weekend, especially those overnight lows near -20, but at least it should be calmer condition-wise with a mix of sun and clouds Saturday and Sunday. Michelle and Nathan.
Ooh, looks cold. Thank you, Lindsay. Appreciate it. That's it for us, but you can join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zarada Allman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
Meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.